Hello, my name is Lisa Nichols, and I've developed this quick tutorial to get us all on the same page when we meet during Wednesday's Calibrate session. Before I talk about what blended learning is, let me talk a bit about what it isn't. It is not just doing the same old thing with a little computer time thrown in. Nor is it isolated online learning. Blended learning is not one particular style of teaching. There is no cookie-cutter template for you to follow. You will have a lot of decisions to make during the planning process. You'll decide how and where and when content will be delivered and how much time you and your students will spend working face-to-face and working online. In a nutshell, blended learning is using thoughtful integration of online and face-to-face activities to optimize learning. When making those decisions, think of it this way. There is an abundance of videos, readings, and tutorials available out there that students can use to discover the information they need. Depending on your topic, you may need to create unique materials, tutorials, video lectures, handouts, and guiding questions so that your students get the most accurate, up-to-date information. And then there is the information that only a knowledgeable expert can provide, explain, clarify, and connect to the bigger picture. Blended learning allows you to use technology to offload the basic and the factual in order to maximize this expertise in the classroom. Think about where your expertise is most relevant and informative. Ask yourself, what can students learn from you that they could never get from a book or a text or a video? That's what you want to plan your face-to-face time around. And in blended learning, online technologies are not just supplementary to the classroom activities. They are a means to transform and improve student learning. You are not trying to recreate the traditional classroom online. Your goal is to use technology in creative ways that build on your teaching strengths and give students some control over the time, place, and/or pace of their own learning. And because there's no one way to do it, it looks different for everyone. And yet there are consistencies because blended learning grows from a learner-centered philosophy of teaching. Okay, so what's that mean? Well, usually for most of us, when we think about teaching, we think of this, the teacher-centered approach. Traditionally, teaching is focused on the teacher. The teacher has the power and the knowledge. The teacher plans what the teacher will do, and the teacher makes all the major decisions. In this model, it's the teacher who is active, and it's the teacher who has agency in the classroom. At its core, teacher-centered philosophy develops from the idea that the teacher is the imparter of knowledge. It's this old idea that the mind of the student is a blank slate to be written upon, or an empty pitcher to be filled. You pick your metaphor. But the learner-centered approach flips that notion upside down and puts the learner at the center of the action in the classroom. In the learner-centered approach, students work to master set learning objectives, while professors work to design and structure the learning activities in such a way that students engage with material, peers, and faculty. Learning then is a cognitive and social act of constructing meaning by solving problems, analyzing data, and engaging in the tasks and behaviors expected within a field of study. Think about the last class session you taught and ask yourself, who was doing the work in your classroom? As the professor, you already know the information, and yet, who was formulating and asking the questions? Who was fleshing out important concepts? Who was expanding on ideas, showing relationships, or summarizing main points? All too often it's the professor, but it's the students who need to grapple with the material in order to learn it. And this is an underlying principle of the learner-centered approach. And it's really not new. But with all that technology allows us to do these days, we have more opportunities to make the most of learner-centered blended learning. And the benefits of learner-centered blended learning are many. Blended learning encourages students to be responsible, independent, and self-regulated. Students can participate more freely in discussions because online forums allow all voices to be heard and give students more time to reflect and refer to relevant course materials and other resources when formulating their answers. Moving information online frees up time in class for students to discuss, present, and work in groups. Students have more access to faculty. They can work one-on-one or in small groups with faculty guidance. Students can access online materials 24/7, review recorded lectures as often as they like, and sometimes attend class without being on site, while professors can easily monitor progress and track learner attainment and completion rates. Change is never easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. Luckily, there are friendly, helpful people eager to work with you. Set up an appointment with us to brainstorm tools and techniques, develop lesson plans and class activities, or fully utilize the technology available to you. We'll start wherever you are and work with you every step of the way. Thank you for your attention and your patience. I look forward to building on this in our Calibrate session on Wednesday, March 18th. See you then.